Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YINZER Brothers podcast. I am TJ. I'm here with my brother Tim. And once again, you are hanging out for a little bit of time with the YINZER Bros. It's the holiday season, so we are in full holiday cheer mode. You can see Tim is sporting the Bumble background. Tim and Bumble have a very deep, spiritual, intimate connection, I think.
What are you talking about? I thought he lives in your house.
No, we actually thought that Bumble may have actually lived at our old house growing up back in Monroeville. All I know is there was a creature that lived somewhere in the basement that we just would freak us out from time to time.
He had looks of Bumble in him. And I mean, you would see him pop his head every once in a while. I'd be like,
A little freaky. It was a little freaky. I don't know. So tonight we're going to cover a lot of ground. We're going to be talking about how the Steelers are coming off their great win over the Panthers, 24-16. It's been a crazy year for us.
Panthers, they suck, TJ.
They
Just
do.
Go ahead. Carry on.
They do stink. You're right. It's just been a weird week for us because, we had a victory, but then the Steelers also lost, probably a legend, Franco Harris. We'll talk about Franco in a little bit too.
Yeah.
We'll talk about, not just the Panther game. We'll talk about Franco. Then we'll talk about the Raider game coming up on Christmas Eve. So it's going to be an interesting mix of everything. So Tim, let's just start with the win. How did you feel about the win against the hapless Panthers last week?
TJ, I mean, I think I called this from when they were had 3 wins, that they're going to rattle off a bunch of wins, and I'm going to be waiting week 17, praying for 47 teams to lose for us to make the playoffs. This is it's what's going to happen.
Now,
they're going to win out. I just have a feeling they're going to win out.
Now, isn't the percentage like 0.03% that they get a shot? Get a chance?
Yeah, and it's just for just the way the Lord up above does this to me. Everything will hit, and I'll have to watch some bum crap Sunday night game that's on until about midnight to determine, hey, and somehow my heart will get broken at the end. That's the way everything usually works.
Just the way of things. You're right. It's just the way of things. You're probably right. So let's talk a little bit about the game. I mean, we didn't have Mitch. We had Mitch. We didn't have Kenny. And Mitch wasn't, what? His stats weren't bad. He was 17 for 22. 8 yards an average, no TDs. I think he had like an 86%, whatever it was. But for me, Mitch, it's the eye test. Does he look good to you?
TJ, no. I mean, I'm gonna catch my tongue before I say something. Probably want to let this podcast get out. No, he looks like a deer in headlights 24/7. I don't understand. He looks like Bumble. You see the eyes of Bumble? When I see the eyes of Bumble, I see Mitch.
He just does not pass the eye test for me. Even as a backup, you hold your breath. I mean, he got the job done, which he didn't make any major mistakes.
Was there any? Let me ask you a question. Was there any chance that Mason was going to start that game?
No, none at all.
Because if you start Mason and he actually plays well, Mike Tomlin is crucified all year. When they said, I feel bad for the dude. I do. I feel bad for the dude. It's like you almost gave him like a carrot to say, hey, if you practice well this week, it's a competition and you practice this week. Come on. I mean, if Mason was a piece of meat, he'd be on the slicer. And it's like slice right to his heart. I kind of feel bad for stupid face.
Why didn't they just cut him loose and trade him and just give him a fresh start? They had offers for him. I'd trade him for something. They're not going to get anything from him by the end of the year.
They can't. He's going to walk, but I don't know. I feel bad for him. I kind of do feel bad for him.
I do too, which is crazy. So Mitch wasn't bad. We had the running game. They were solid. We ran for about almost 160 yards collectively again.
Najee has been running like a man possessed, man.
He has. Ever since he kind of got critiqued that one game where he was kind of dancing instead of running downhill, he's been a different runner, which has been good. And again, he's healthy too.
I think it's after the bye week. He had to have that foot, the plate. It just seems he seems like a different dude. He is, what's the word I'm looking for? He is playing to contact instead of playing away from contact. He is just mauling. I don't know if I've seen a dude with a stiff arm that nasty in such a long time, man.
Yeah, he's pretty. That one play when he went into the end zone, he was looking to throw that guy into into Zimbabwe. It was great. Now he was looking pretty fierce. And then you got to give it up for Deontay. Deontay had a great game too. 10 targets, 10 catches, no drops. He
Stunning.
almost had 100 yards. Again,
But
I
why
don't
does he do
understand
it
the mental thing.
every game? It's like he has 2 plays that he runs 5 yards. He catches the ball and runs 5 yards
I
behind.
don't understand that either.
You're just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll tell you what, George is starting to come into his own. He only had two catches, but they were for 56 yards. That's a pretty good average. I think he had like a 38-yard catch or something like that, which is nice.
TJ, that dude is. Remember, I said we may get 3 years out of him. I don't know if it's going to be 3 years. That dude is a loose cuckoo.
You think he is?
He's loose cuckoo.
Nuts.
I love him, but he's loose cuckoo.
You know what's funny? Guess how many targets Frymouth had this week? This week, none.
I don't think he had any.
Yeah, none.
I think he's
he had
hurt.
no targets. He might be. I don't know.
I think he's. If you look at some of the clips of him, he looked like he was playing on 1 foot almost, man.
Yeah, but Gentry was okay. He filled in okay. But I heard this last week. He came in the league last week. He was the second ranked tight end. Frymouth was behind Kelsey.
For what?
From Pro Football Focus, not from this week. Going into the Panther game, he was the second ranked tight end in the league.
That can't be. That can't be
That's what I heard.
accurate.
That's what I heard. That's crazy. Of course, Kenny Pickett was like the first one like 3 weeks ago, which I don't understand that for QBs. But and then the defense, look, they put up a good showing. I mean, Carolina was known they could run the ball. They held them to 21 yards rushing for the game, which was pretty stellar.
TJ, I can't watch 41 play another game. I can't. I don't get when they kind of say that, like Tomlin says, like he's a great cover guy. He's not a great cover guy.
No.
I saw him get burned by a running back. I can't watch the guy anymore. He drives me. I would rather watch the guy that got some snaps, Robinson. I saw a couple plays with him. Like, he didn't make the play. He just ran his face into a pile of guards and tackles and just – I'm cool with that. Attack downhill. Spillane just drives me – it goes back to the Baltimore game. That last play, somebody moved him in the hole where that play was supposed to go, and he got just obliterated out of the hole. I'm going, this dude stinks. He shouldn't be. He should be a backup or a special team. He shouldn't be starting.
No, we need some more depth there. I mean, they did pretty good too because I believe Miles Jack was out too, wasn't he? He didn't play at all.
He didn't play at all. Their line played very well against Carolina. I think
starting to come
Ogunjobi.
He's coming on. Ogunjobi's coming on quite a bit. What a great pickup he was. Now, so the defense did pretty good. They held them to whatever they need to. We got the win.
Their secondary stinks, though. It does. Their secondary is bad.
I think it's predicated on
their
the pressure.
Let me put it this: TJ, you're watching those dudes. You're watching our corners give 7-yard cushions, and receivers are blowing past them. There's a big difference. You need to get a corner that has 4.3 speed and doesn't have 4.6 speed. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You need somebody out there that can. Levi Wallace he ain't a dude.
No,
he ain't a dude, man.
Maybe they'll try to address that in the draft, Tim, because the Steelers are so good at drafting cornerbacks.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So they came up with the victory, which is good. Again, it's not necessarily a clash of the Titans, but that's a game that you're supposed to win. So let's talk about the Raiders. But before we do that, let's take a peek into the YINZER mailbag. What is the YINZER mailbag? It's when you, the fan, get to ask us, the YINZER Bros, any question you want on this international podcast. If you'd like to send us a question, you can send it to yinzerbros@gmail.com, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. Tim, is there anything in the YINZER mailbag tonight that is worth our attention?
Yeah. Okay. Biggest surprise player of the year.
Biggest surprise player of the year. You know what? I'm going to go. Are you ready for this? And you're not going to be happy with this.
Yep.
I'm going to say.
I'm going to agree with you, man. Just go ahead. I know
number
exactly.
34.
I know.
I think number 34.
He's played well.
He has.
You know what, TJ? Let's do this. Here's a little bit of this. He's made his way off the list. He has made his way off the list.
He has played pretty solid.
He's played well. Well.
No, I think
to me it's a toss up. It's between him and I think the center, the dude that they picked up, Cole.
Yeah.
I think he's been pretty good, man. But I mean, great. I'm looking at compared to what we had last year. I mean, the dude that was basically getting tossed around like a little rag doll last year. But I mean, I think he's been pretty well.
Do you even think he's going to be in the league next year? Kendrick Green.
TJ, I don't understand why he's still on the team because he has been inactive every single game.
You talk about
what's the point of
a terrible draft pick? He was a terrible draft pick.
bad? And I remember going back to saying that. I go, that dude will be the linchpin to the whole draft, and he sucked.
He was bad. He was undersized. He was just bad.
He reminds me. He looks like a turtle plane. Like his arms are real short, and he got a shell, and he just, I don't know, just.
And they get on him on his back feet, and he looks like he's on roller skates when they start pushing him back.
Terrible.
I mean, he's awful.
I mean, I mean, again, he's got to be number one on the Pouncey list because that dude to go down there and train with the Pounceys and to just play like that, the Pounceys are probably, that dude better move out of the country because the Pounceys they're going to be looking for him.
They're no joke, too. They'll kill you. They'll put a cap in you, Tim.
Those are two dudes. If I had somebody to go into a dark alley with me, James Harrison, Brock Lesnar, and the Pouncey brothers. those guys.
Have you ever been down to Lakeland where they came from? Like I went to school down there, and I saw a couple high school games down there. You talk about a place. There is like rough places,
TJ,
and then there's Lakeland.
TJ, all I need to know about the Pouncey brothers is at one point in time they were wearing free Aaron Hernandez hats. So
Scary.
I mean, those dudes, I'm not, no, they're probably, no, thank God. I don't know.
Do you think they listen to the podcast? You think they watch the podcast too?
I don't know. Hope not. God, I'm a couple days.
They may be in your bushes later.
It's the last thing I need on Christmas weekend is the Pouncey showing up at Tim Mateo's house.
That's true.
It's the last thing I need.
That'd be scary. You got anything else? Anything else in the YINZER mailbag there, Tim Mateo?
No. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine me opening my door Christmas Eve and Mike Pouncey staring at me in the face with a free Aaron Hernandez hat on? Oh boy, that would be bad news, huh?
Oh, that would be bad.
Can you imagine?
Tim Harris,
just
the living legend, Tim Harris.
I would run upstairs and jump in Olivia's crib as quick as possible, put baby clothes on, and be like, blah, 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 blah. What happens to Brian Flores after the season?
You think the Steelers keep Brian Flores? Do you think I don't know if he'll be a head coach, but you think he'll probably be a coordinator somewhere, don't you think?
TJ, I don't think, unless he's getting a head coaching job, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. To me, I don't think he's going to go settle to be a coordinator. And I'm hoping he gets a head coaching job because if he does leave, we get draft compensation for that big time. I think we get like a pretty high pick.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And I think any that's what I'm looking for to be politically correct. Ethnic coaches you have on your roster, they get hired by another, you get a draft compensation.
Really?
Head coaches or something like that.
I didn't know that. Wow. No, that'll be interesting.
I could be making that up, but I'm about 87% sure.
Oh man, that's great.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to leave for anything but a head coaching job. So I don't think he'll leave for a coordinator. If it is, you better hire him to be the defensive coordinator because, again, I don't think I think Mike Tomlin's calling 90% of the defenses anyways. So I don't think, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
He's got to be better than Austin.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's probably, when you look at head coaching, you got Carolina, they're going to need a head coach at some point if they decide to bring somebody in. Who else is looking for a head coach?
Carolina be looking for a head coach. I'm thinking Denver's going to be looking for a head coach because
Lovey's just
that dude's
terrible.
That's not Lovey. That's that Packett guy that's out in Denver.
Oh, you're right. Where's Lovey at?
He's with the Texans. I think he'll be.
Oh, that's right.
He's with the Texans. I think the guy in Arizona, he'll be fired. They stink. That dude's way too pretty to be coaching, anyways.
Yeah, he is.
Other than that, but you got to figure Sean Payton's going to probably want to come back.
Yeah.
You know, you got. I don't know. I'd have to rack my brain on coaches, but who knows? Even. I don't know. Guy in Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland, do they keep him? If you got a chance to go, how Jimmy Haslam is. If you got a chance to go get a big name, you go grab Peyton. Who knows? I don't know. I think there's going to be. I mean, there's always I think every year there's always 5 or 6
Yeah.
teams that you got open possibilities, man. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'd like to see him again. Again, he's made Devin Bush actually an NFL player.
He has.
Not a good one, but he's made him an NFL player. So I mean,
Yeah.
if he can do that, I'd like to see what he can do after they get some nice draft capital, you know. So we'll see. Last question: biggest disappointment player of the year.
I mean, I don't know. Would you call that from performance or just because of injury? I mean, how would you qualify that?
If you're going to say that, I mean, if you're looking at it, I mean, TJ Watt, because he's been on the field, but I mean, I would say guys that's been there, that's been all year, that's been performing just mediocre. That's who. I mean, that you didn't expect that. I'm not going to say Mitch because I thought Mitch was going to suck from the beginning of the year, so that doesn't really change to me. Boy, who I mean, it's tough because like Najee, I thought he would be a beast from the beginning of the year, and he really hasn't been that great until late.
Yeah.
I don't know who has really disappointed me. You know what? Who's disappointed me? What's his name? 65. That guy sucks, man.
Oh,
they got to get
Moore?
rid of Dotson. No, Dotson.
Oh, Dotson. Yeah, Dotson.
Dotson 69. I'm sorry. I think Moore and the other guy, man. I thought their tackles been pretty good. I think the one guy in the line that's been
Dotson's not
I think the one
good.
guy in the line he's been bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like what has happened to that dude? When he was a rookie, he played extremely well. He has a shattering penalty. He's gotten Kenny killed twice already. Like I think both of the times Kenny's got hurt.
Yeah.
It's because
where they're coming up that A gap,
assignments.
he's just. I mean, it's just. I mean, you get killed through that. There's no reaction time. I think. I think
thought
once
he'd be the. I thought of the line he would be one of the dudes that was actually going to be solid. I think, like I said, he to me is a weak link, man, big time.
I think you're right. I think if you're talking about injuries, I think it's TJ Watt. I don't think he's right still. I think he's just doing the best that he can with whatever injuries he's dealing with. I hope he's not happy. He's not turning into the Watt stuff to where you start, they get these freakish injuries, when they start ripping pecs and things.
I saw him come. He seemed a little bit different against Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little. I think the rib thing that's tough, man. Because when he came back that first game, he looked like TJ Watt. He was causing havoc. I just think that rib thing. Do you get a rib injury? Hey, man, you can't do anything, dude. I mean, you especially at a defensive line having to punch and swim. Oh, got to be awful, dude.
No, you're right, and he's not like he doesn't overwhelm you with his just pure size either. He uses his quickness and strength and speed, so he needs all that stuff too. But I'll probably agree with you. I think he's been a pretty. I mean, I didn't have a ton of high hopes for him, but he's been very subpar.
He's poor, man. And for the money that they're paying him, very close is Gunner. They're paying Gunner $4 million for 2 years to return, and he can't do that. No. And if I have to see him on another jet sweep, I'm gonna every week, one time Gunner's getting a jet sweep somewhere in this game, and it's gonna be the most unill timing. Oh, Gunner.
It's terrible. I don't even know why he's out there. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Don't even know why he's there. I don't know. Yeah. Anything else with the Yinzer mailbag?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's it for the Yinzer mailbag. Again, if you got any questions, anything you want to ask us, you could email us at yinzerbros@gmail.com, and we'll get your question on the air. Let's turn our attention to the Raiders, and then we'll talk a little bit about Franco.
But before we get into that real quick, I do want to say, again, for my Bear fans, I told you so. I told you he couldn't catch. I told you he was no Megatron. I had to hear out here so much how much we got fleeced. You guys haven't even won a game since he's been on the roster.
No, he's bad.
He hasn't even had 150 yards receiving since you guys have had him for 6 games. We took you guys to the cleaners, to the absolute cleaners.
We had ski masks on. We had a bag of money. They just handed us the money.
Do you know what Omar's doing right now, TJ? He's sitting in his office with his feet up. He's got one of them skull caps on, and he's smoking a cigarette, just laughing, just watching. And all I hear from the Bear fans is the stupid, idiotic things. It's okay. We want to keep losing. We want to keep losing. Like, we have all this money. I'm like, but you need draft. You gave up a second-round pick. It's probably going to turn into the Miami Dolphins won't have a first-round pick this year, so it may end up turning into a first-round pick. You guys are dum-dums. Your team stinks. I don't care how much money you have. You want draft capital, and you gave us a golden pick. And I have people out here saying, well, you guys will waste the pick. I go, when's the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers wasted a second-round pick, you dum-dums? Just stop it.
You know the last time, Tim? Chase Claypool.
You know what I'm going to do? To the majority of my Chicago fans, when that second-round pick turns into a borderline Hall of Famer, I'm going to buy each one of them his jersey. I'm going to say, here you go, guys. Thank you. I may send it over to Hallis Hall and be like, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCaskey. Thank you, Mr. Poole, for giving us that pick.
That's true.
It's the greatest thing ever. Fleeced. I've never seen anything. So, TJ, I thought seeing Justin Fields, I was like, they're going to win a couple games. That pick may not be that great. They can't win. No, even though he's doing what he's doing. They can't win. They can't do it. I see it every week. I had a guy one week, I think Claypool were playing the Jets. He had like 50 yards in the first like 2 plays. And I went and took a nap. And I woke up and the game was over. Guess what Claypool had? 50 yards. That's all he had the whole game.
He just I can't believe.
I was like,
we got a second rounder back for him. God bless us. That'll be great.
To the cleaners. Oh.
So let's talk about the Raiders this week. When you look at the Raiders, I mean, let's just be real. The Raiders are not that good, right? Once you get past,
I don't know what else. Teacher, the quarterback wears eyeliner, so I mean, we should win this game.
That's true. Well, they got Josh Jacobs. He's running the ball hard. I think he's the leading rusher. I think he's got like 1,500 yards or 1,400 yards, something like that. But here's a nice stat with him: when he goes for over like 100, they win. When he's under 100, they lose. So I think it's the same formula this week as last week. Stop the run.
But there's a big storm brewing, and it's a big Najee storm brewing. And there's many things. I believe Josh Jacobs was the reason why Najee didn't start at Alabama until his year. Mm-hmm. You got the Franco dynamic. There's a big bull, and I think he's getting stirred up, and he's like when you see those guys riding bulls, you're like, I don't want to ride that bull. I think you're going to see him. That 22 is going to be like, I think there's a Najee storm coming because I think he has a lot to prove this game.
I think you're right. And then he's also carrying, the legacy of Harris. Got the Harris name, everything.
Yep.
So we know this. We know that their defense isn't that great either, but they have won. The Raiders have won 4 out of the last 5. 2 of them have been in overtime, and they've been like miracles. Like this last week, that was I cannot believe a Belichick coach team loses like that. That's insane.
I'm surprised that dude's still on the team.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
but again, I am surprised Marcus
Allen
or Allen's still on our team too. But I was sitting there and they started the ladder. I sat, my followers or my wife, I go, I can't believe they're doing this. And then the next thing I knew, I'm like, it happened. I go, oh my God. I was like, you couldn't believe it happened. It was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's not like you're down by a touchdown. You're going into overtime. It makes no sense at all.
And you're on the road.
It's crazy.
That's another thing.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. So when you think about the Steelers and the Raiders, I mean, obviously it's going to be charged with some energy. It's going to be a cold day. So, I mean, you're probably going to see it's going to be a running attack thing. Yeah. So what do you think is a recipe for a Steelers victory?
I mean, you got to stop the run, and you got to pound the rock. Can't turn it over. Turnovers will be the key to the whole game. If you don't turn the ball over, you're going to win.
So can I throw something out there? This may be the first real test for Kenny Baby Hands Pickett. If there's going to be issues with holding on to the ball, this could be it. I mean, he's got the gloves.
I don't think. To me, I'd be more nervous if it's rain.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I think it's just going to be cold. TJ, you've played in cold. I've played in cold. Once you get past a first quarter, if that even that, you're numb to that stuff. The worst part about that is when you go into halftime and you got to come back out and get your body adjusted. I don't think it's going to be that. Once you get playing, that kind of goes. The coldest times I've ever been playing football wasn't in snow or freezing. It was when it was raining and cold.
Yeah.
Because you're wet and you're cold. It's gonna be cold. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna affect his hands at all. I think he'll be fine with the gloves on. I think if it was raining, I'd be way more nervous.
Well, let's hope you're right. Now, I don't know if you did see this. They did change his helmet this week, and he's going to be donning a visor as well.
That helmet looks ginormous. I think he's wearing the same one Firemuth wear. They look like they, the new hats that they're making that are like this big. That's what those helmets look like.
Hey, if it protects his noggin and he'll be okay, that'll be great.
I don't care, man.
So you got any? I think. I mean, obviously, I think this is a good. I think this is a good game for the Steelers, and I think that we are.
Yeah.
With the energy and everything going on, I think we're positioned to win. What do you give me a score prediction? And let's go with the player game. Give me your offensive player of the game.
Oh, Najee. I think
Najee.
I think there's a storm. I think there's a storm brewing, and the Bull is about to be. I think he's about to have a career game.
Wouldn't that be great if he goes out there and he runs for like $160 or something like that?
I'm not talking $160. I'm thinking like at least 2 spins. I think he's going to have a monster game.
Oh, that would be
monster game.
That would be great. Mm-hmm. So who's your defensive player of the game?
I'm going to say defensive player of the game. Games like this, I'm probably going to. I think TJ Watt's getting a little bit healthy, so I'm going to say TJ's going to have a couple splash plays here and there, maybe a turnover play here and there to kind of do something.
You know, I think it's going to maul this game. I just think because he's just all Pittsburgh is Cam Hayward. I think he's going to rise too. I think he's going to be an emotional juggernaut. Yeah. I think he's just going to throw people around. So give me a score. What's your score prediction?
Dare I say the score will be 13-7. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like that. Tim going back to 72. That's pretty good. I'm going to say the Steelers win. It's going to be a cold game. I think they're going to win 17-3. 17-3.
I mean, 13-7 would go against my Najee thing, but you had to 13-7.
You never know. It wouldn't surprise me if they put up maybe 24, but I'm going to say 17. Let's finish up. Obviously, we had a shot over the bow this week. The whole thing this week. It's the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. Tim is donning the Franco's Italian Army hard hat that our dad wore many times. We lost just a legend this week in Pittsburgh.
But before we get serious about this, I do want to add this and put this in here. And don't go to his door. Don't go to his house. Don't send him letters. The mush happened to be in Pittsburgh. I believe he landed on Sunday and he left. I want to say he was there from Sunday to Wednesday. I'm not saying it was, but I'm not saying it wasn't.
What mojo voodoo is this guy carrying?
I'm not saying it was, but I'm not saying it wasn't. Carry on. Let's get into the sentimental thing. I just want to throw that in there because I know he'll be listening.
So I know that Tim. There's 9 years between Tim and I. So I don't know. I mean, you were small when he was on the backside.
I wasn't even small because I mean he retired in 81, right?
I thought it was 84, wasn't it? I think it was 84.
I'm not gonna remember anything of Franco. I know. Yeah. Speaking as a brother, I know that he was probably your childhood hero almost because I mean you did a painting of Franco.
I did. Well, I mean you grow up and you play football in Pittsburgh, and you're a fullback and your last name is Harris. I mean, could anything be greater as a player ever? I mean, that's the way that it is. But so we do have some history with it. Like we know, like our dad and Uncle George were actually at Three River Stadium for the Immaculate Reception. So Dad actually saw
I
it.
remember,
I mean,
and you can tell our dad had. I mean, you could tell I'm wearing the hat. You know, it's the Italian Franco's Italian army, the hard hat. You could tell. I mean, I know Dad was. I'm assuming that was one of his favorite guys. Um, so I think it rings different for you than it does for me. I mean, me growing up, you I never, from my standpoint, I I always thought Franco was just. I thought he was born in Pittsburgh and went to Penn State. I didn't. You don't know any better because he was just. He played there. He was a legend. He lived there. He stayed there.
yeah,
And like not like many other guys that left the city. He lived there, and you saw him all the time. You saw him around guys that are where I grew up. My heroes of a Jerome Bettis
hmm,
and Cordell, guys like that. And you always saw him around, and you knew he was a legend. And it was cool. We had the same last name, but I think, like I said, for me, it was that's the way I looked at it. He wasn't my childhood hero, which I think, like I said, for you and Dad, I think it's kind of a cool thing that you guys probably you saw him. That was your dude, and I'm assuming that same way with Dad. So it's kind of different. It's cool to hear it from you. You know how you. I want to hear how you. You know, it's different for me. I'll give you my thing. I want to kind of give you the floor because I know it means a little bit different, like I said, to you than it does to me.
well, he was like you said, he was a real guy. He was a Pittsburgher, even though he was born in Jersey. You know, he came through the whole stuff, and it was amazing. And I remember hearing even our Uncle Rudy, you know, had a sandwich shop down in Swissville, talk about how he would come in and grab steak sandwiches, and he was just like a real dude. Even the stories you heard this week, he always took time with people and stuff. I do remember this is the weirdest memory of everything. I mean, you know, obviously I was too small to remember the Immaculate Reception in '72, but I do remember him through the Super Bowls. And the clear Super Bowl I remember was when we beat the Rams, you know, back in '79. Um, and I remember one of the saddest days was when they had a contract thing with him, and they actually let him go. His last year, he finished up with the Seahawks, I believe.
Seattle. Yeah.
And it was sad because Franco didn't belong with the Seahawks, and I think they actually cut him. It was crazy. So I think it's like, you know, when you look at the Steeler teams, you know, when you look at the two pieces that they put in place back in the '70s, you know, obviously Mean Joe Green was the defensive piece, and then the offensive piece, it was Franco. You know, and again, Bradshaw, they had some great players, stuff like that, but Franco was the one. I think he was the MVP of their first Super Bowl. He was just ridiculous. I still think he had like I think he was the MVP. He had like 160 yards rushing in that Super Bowl with like a touchdown or two or something like that. But even more than that, he was just a good dude, and I think he embodied the team. You know who they were. So I agree with you. I think even like Najee and these guys are going to be playing with a chip. And it is weird. I heard this today. This is nuts. So he was, you know, he was drafted in '72. He died when he was 72, and it was 72 days. Oh shoot, there was another 72 thing in there that I thought was like, this is crazy. But I don't know.
Out of everything that I've heard that I've heard this week that like I really didn't I mean I didn't know like I didn't realize like when he retired he was like 100 yards away from like he was number two all
He
time
was
rushing behind he was only like
just
100
Jim
he was like
Brown.
100 or 200 200 yards away from like Jim Brown.
If he would have stayed in
I didn't
Pittsburgh,
realize that.
if he would have stayed in Pittsburgh, he would have eclipsed him. He would have passed him.
I just I didn't put it this way when you think when me looking back and I think of the 70s teams I never thought until I was hearing the stories this week and you hear some of the stuff that like Franco was the like you said Franco was the offensive piece. In my brain, I look back on those guys and I'm always like it was Bradshaw. You know, Bradshaw was the dude, and then I didn't even know like in them early like I didn't know Swan and Stallworth weren't there for another
They
two
weren't there yet.
years.
Yep, that's right.
So to me, it's like I was like hearing some of the stuff, and I'm like, what you hear? I didn't know he was that dominant. I just, you kind of just you see the clips and you're going, well, they're just Steelers. It's Steel Curtain, Bradshaw. You see the clips of Swan and all. I didn't realize how he was that dominant a player because for me, everything you hear about Franco is how he is leader, personality in the community, and how much he did or does, or I mean, did for Pittsburgh. Like in the community, he was enormous. I think behind maybe Lemieux, he may have done. You know, I'd say Mario one and maybe him too, of the community in Pittsburgh for doing stuff.
I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right. No, you're right. And again, he really, when you think back, you know, even how he played and stuff like that, he was a big back before they really had big backs. I mean, he was like 6'2". I think he was like 230, 240, and he ran like a deer. He was fast. I mean, what do you do with that? And when you throw, like, you know, back in the day, you throw like a Rocky Blyer next to him, who was like, you know, he was like a scat back, very fast scat back. He was really tough to stop. He was just, he was kind of like he was like the forerunner. Really the closest thing to him that you saw before that was probably Jim Brown. Jim Brown was a beast too, but all the others, the Gale Sayers and all those guys, were just kind of fast and they would glide. For a big man, he was just ridiculous, especially early on the scene. He was amazing, and then he had soft hands. Again, they use the running backs different, you know, than they do today. If he's one of those guys, I think, that would still scale in the NFL of today. You know, 6'2", 230. You know, that's a big back. That's, you know, you're talking like, you know, Najee Harris stats. You know, a little taller than Najee. I mean, I think he would scale today, and he played in a much more violent time. So it almost makes you wonder. I always think about this: how many of these guys today could play back, you know, back in the day? You look like a Tom Brady or these guys. You know what? They don't have to put up with the abuse that these guys, you know, even like the wide receivers and stuff of today. Could they have taken the abuse of some of these other guys? But I think Pittsburgh does lose I think they lose a legend. They lose a guy that embodies their heart and their soul. And it's weird because, you know, who's next on that list, you know, as far as like who else can embody a city like that? I'm like, you're right. He stayed.
I don't like the only guy that I see next in line doing. I mean, Ben's he stayed. He's here.
Yeah.
You know, but you got Sid. I think it depends what Sid does when he's said done. I know he lives here during the season. I don't know, man. You're right. He's just, it's weird even like hearing from him talk, like his dialect from when he was like young to like now. He even
became
like
a Pittsburgher
dialect.
He did,
which is crazy, man. It was crazy. It was crazy to hear. Yeah, it's been a pretty, for me, it just brings up a lot of stuff with Dad. You know,
yeah,
Dad's been gone for a while, but it's kind of like it's just crazy because knowing like all his legends seems like, especially the '70s team, is like they keep passing away, which is crazy. You know,
you got about 10 years, and you're going to lose almost all of them. But you are right. When I the first thing I thought of, you know, going down to our basement, and Dad had all the old '70s Steelers paraphernalia. He had all the old Iron City beer cans, the stuff from John Banaszak, all the stuff that they'd print, all the Franco's Italian Army buttons and everything. I could almost still smell the must of the, you know, of the basement and all his stuff, man. And it was just, you know, it's a time you could see like they're just turning a page.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I heard one thing, which I don't know if they'll do it, but I think would be absolutely incredible. Can you imagine if they had Najee wear Franco's number?
That'd be incredible.
For the first half, him take that jersey off, they retire it then and there, and then he wears the 22 for the rest of the game.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, I don't know if they'd ever do that, but I think that would be incredible. I mean, it would be incredible. It would absolutely be incredible if it did something like that.
No, I agree. I think that would be great. So I think you know, Christmas Eve, 8:00 is going to be a special time to get to see that, because you know they're going to be, you know, and even the fact that he'd done almost all the interviews already leading up to the celebration. So you're going to see all of it, and I think it'll be great. So Pittsburgh, we lost a hero. That just means that more of us have to step up, right, Tim?
I mean, it's what I'm here for, buddy. It's what I'm here for. That's right. I got 4 plays. I got 4 plays left.
Most Pittsburghers, let's just be real, most of us are legends in our own mind. So I think if we could live out those legends, we'd be great.
TJ, again with this testy cream, I think I may squeeze out 5 plays. I am feeling friskier than ever.
Maybe, I don't know. So, Tim, do you have anything else you'd like to add over the podcast today?
No, I just hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. Stay safe, stay warm, because it is colder than God's creation where I'm at right now. Yeah, hope everybody has a good holiday.
You know what? I did forget to tell you something, Tim. So, most of you guys know by now, Tim and I are Greek. The Greeks are getting together after the first of the year. Our Aunt Mimi, she's been, kicking around for a long time. We're losing the older guard. So we're going to go and enjoy the big Greek celebration. It won't be a large gathering of Greeks. There'll probably only be about 30 or 40 of us, but, be a hefty gathering.
Man, that's cheeks and food getting stuffed down your throat.
So Toby, his girlfriend Sarah, great girl, they exchanged some presents, and her parents. This is nuts. Ready for this? They got the Harris family a present. This is the gift that they got us. We just found this out. 7 tickets to the Steelers and Browns on January the 8th at Heinz Field.
I mean, I got 2 tickets. I'm trying to get rid of myself. You guys can tag those on if you want.
Well, I think you should come down, grab one of your buddies, and let's do this.
TJ, there is not a chance in God's creation I'm going to be sitting outside in January of a game that's going to mean probably absolutely nothing, freezing my tail off. You're out of your – I love you guys, and I love you as a – you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
Tim,
You're out of your core.
I'm starting to question your resolve and your commitment.
No, it's not that, TJ. I said the next cold game I will go to, it better be my team. If they're playing in New York at a Super Bowl, you out of your mind, TJ. I sat up in Green Bay when the high was the high. I'm not talking like the actual high temperature was 2. The windshield was negative a bazillion.
And did you tell everybody what
never
you did?
again?
Did you tell everybody? Tim was in the box and he wanted to have the Lambo experience, so he left the box.
The dumbest thing I've ever did in my life. Dumbest.
I left the box so you could experience the frozen tundra of Lambeau.
Dumbest thing I've ever did. I mean, I had a couple pops. I had a couple pops that game. Sobered up real quick when you sit on that metal bench and a thunderbolt goes up your rear end. You're going, holy mackerel. And you're looking around going, what on God's creation did I do?
All right.
That's my Lambo experience. Never again.
Slightly different one. Well, don't forget, if you like what you hear, pass along the podcast to your friends, your family. Again, we're the Yinzer Bros. Stay classy, Pittsburgh.
I got 2 tickets. I got 2 tickets for a January game in Cleveland or in Pittsburgh if anyone needs them. Shoot me a message. You're not bringing that poor girl back to the city of Pittsburgh to meet the family.
We're bringing 2 girls back. We're going to bring McKenna, who's never met the Greeks in full force, and then Sarah. I told him bring lip balm. They're going to kiss everybody.
McKenna doesn't. I mean, she's already cuffed. There's nothing nothing she can do. The other one, oh boy.
Well, this will be a test.
Have a Merry Christmas. They're tongue kissers or everything. I don't need none of that in my life.
We're the Yinzer Bros. Stay classy, Pittsburgh.
Still number 1 out here, right?
All right. See you guys. Have a happy holiday.